Hello, everybody. This is my very first USB showcase event, and I reckon I'm as blown away as you should be. So can I just ask that we give a massive round of applause just to USB? Absolutely amazing event. It's a huge privilege for me to be here, and I was actually quite daunted at the thought because of the massive giants that I'm very privileged to share the stage with. But what I'm going to do in my 7 minutes is I'm going to share some little snippets of my story, my journey over the last 3 years, and then I'm going to leave you with 2 practical tools of change. Because I'd like to believe that there isn't a single person sitting here today who doesn't want to change something about their lives in one way or another. It might be who you are. We're conditioned to believe that we can't change who we are. I am who I am. Well, no, you're not. You can be anything you want to be. What about what you do, who you are in terms of what you are in a corporate environment, your business, the structure, maybe it's weight loss, could be anything, but I'm pretty sure that there's something, just one thing that you want to change. We start a year like this, full of aspirations and thinking how are we going to end it. We want to look back and we want to finish strong. We know that that's a thing, right? Finishing strong. But somehow, very few of us are good at change management within ourselves. So my story is one of brain cancer. Let me skip forward a little bit. I was very lucky, or have been very fortunate to be a great Ironman athlete. I was a top 20 finisher for a number of years, and I felt invincible. And then in 2015, I found out that I wasn't so invincible. I'd been battling with a benign tumor on my pituitary gland for a number of years, 12 years actually, but I'd been able to handle it, and I'd been able to handle the side effects. But at this point in time, I knew that something drastic was wrong. The symptoms were on steroids. I couldn't control anything. But I was determined that I was going to go and finish an Ironman, and I did. So 2016, I did Ironman on hardly any training at all, just because my body just couldn't handle it. But 5 days later, I was on the operating table having a massive tumor removed from my pituitary gland. I'd made the mistake of Googling, and please don't ever Google anything that's got to do with disease. You're just going to die, that's what it is. And I knew that this was extremely aggressive, that not much was known about it, and it was essentially a death sentence. But the Ironman that I am, when I spoke to the surgeon after the operation, the first question I had was, is it gone? Did you get all of it? And he said, yes, we were quite confident. We got it all. And it was kind of, take that. Don't mess with me, cancer. But unfortunately, that's not where the story ends, because 8 weeks later, routine tests, and they found out that the cancer had spread. And at that point in time, I was told, Richard, you are terminal. You have got 6 months to live. Whew. It doesn't matter how many times I tell the story, when you think of what goes through your mind and what goes through your head when you know you're not going to see another Christmas. What will you do with your time? You couldn't possibly become a more authentic version of yourself than when somebody tells you that your time on this planet has got an end date. There it is. What would you do? I can tell you for a fact that you won't do anything that you don't want to do. You won't spend your time with people that are not worth spending time with. You reevaluate absolutely everything. It's a gift. It doesn't feel like it at the time. That part of the story was great. I became the 118th person on this planet ever to have survived the primary pituitary carcinoma. Take that, cancer. I'm an Ironman. I celebrated. I went big. Thank you. Okay, but stop. The next year, I found out that I had stage 4 glioblastoma. The place that had spread to beforehand, it was back. And again, that was the second time I heard those words from a doctor, Richard, you're going to die. To say that it was harder the second time is an understatement. What would you do? How would you overcome this thing? So what happened was that I felt beaten, and I think that's kind of normal. I think we'd all feel that same way. But here's the problem with life, is that when we're hit with disruption, when we're hit with change, how do we respond? I spent all my time and energy focusing on the cancer, focusing on the cure, trying to overcome it, all my time and energy to the point that it owned me. I would hate to have thought at that time that I was a victim, but yet I was. I was a cancer victim, struggling to overcome this thing. It took my little 10-year-old daughter, when I was having a really, really rough time. She didn't know what to say, and she said to me, but Daddy, nobody said it would be easy. I was like, where did that come from? She was in the car. She said, I don't know what else to say. Where did you hear that from? Was it your mom? Who told you that? It took that for someone to tell me, Richard, nobody said it was going to be easy. I've got the words amor fati tattooed on my arm here. That's Latin for embrace your fate or love your fate. It comes from Nishka, because in fact your fate is your life. You can choose for this disruption that your companies are going through, for the changes you're going through in your life, for something bad to have happened. You can choose to fight that thing, for that to become your identity, or you can understand that that is just your fate. What are you going to do now? And overcoming challenges, I learned, means you need to overcome the thoughts in your head first. So my talk's all centered around how can you control your thoughts? How can you use the power of your brain? I've got brain cancer. Yes, I do. But the only way I can beat brain cancer is by understanding how to utilize my brain and unlock its potential. I decided I was going to overcome cancer by going to go and enter another Ironman with stage 4 brain cancer. It was torturous, but I knew that if I could control the thoughts in my head and get out every single morning and go and do something, just walk around the block, do something, I could beat the cancer in my head. People often ask me, Richard, how did you overcome this cancer? How are you the 118th person in the world to overcome that first cancer? I can tell you what it is. It's how you think towards it. It's how you control what's going on in your head. That's what differentiates whether you're going to overcome something or whether it is going to overcome you. It was a really, really tough day. My time was amazing. It shouldn't be humanly possible, and it isn't. How is it possible? Controlling the thoughts in your head. So I know that I'm proof of the fact that anything is possible. You have the potential sitting here to do anything. Like Peter said, how bad did you want it? How badly do you want to get to where you want to get? How many days are you prepared to sit on the ocean for? What are you prepared to go through to overcome what you want to overcome? I love this quote. You're only a victim once. Thereafter, you're a volunteer. Anything can happen to you. That becomes your identity or becomes just something else that you're getting through. So very, very quickly, just 2 things I'm going to leave you with. Number 1, practical tools to overcome change or to try and effect the change that you want in your life. 5-second rule. Your brain has got a handbrake and it's got an accelerator. You have an amazing amount of incredible ideas that flood through your head at any given time. One could be tomorrow morning, I want to get up and I want to go and run. I set my alarm. I put up my running shoes. The alarm goes off the next morning. 5, 4, 3, 2. Do you know what the handbrake sounds like? Oh, I haven't trained for it was last year. The last time I trained was last year. Oh, it's going to be so hard. It's Tuesday. We don't start anything on a Tuesday. We start on a Monday. Do you know, maybe Saturday. I'm going to start on Saturday because then I've got time. And actually, that's called the handbrake. If you can just pick up that one thing, when you have ideas to change your life, 5 seconds to act on an idea, or then it's gone. And then lastly, happiness is a feeling. I learned this. This is the 4th tool. We have this idea, and I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I could be desperate and dateless. And I think to myself, I would be happy. I'm going through cancer, I'm suffering. I would be happy if only I could find a girlfriend. I mean, that's happiness, right? I find a girlfriend and am I happy? For a very brief space in time. Why? Because she starts to put pressure on me. And she says, Richard, if you want to keep it, you've got to put a ring on it. And I think, okay, well, what if I put a ring on it, will we be happy then? And she says, yes, we'll be happy. And then I put the ring on the finger. And then I'll be happy for a while. And she says, no, well, actually, this isn't cool because we're not married and we're not dating. It's kind of the in-between and this isn't really cool. So I say, okay, should we have the wedding then? And she says, yes, then I'll be happy. And then we have the wedding. And we're happy for a very brief time. And she says to me, Richard, you've got your little family. I've got my little family. We should have one together. It's this complete little family. I say to her, but I'm 48 and you're 45. And is this a good idea? And she says, yes, that will make me happy. So we try. But because we're so old, we're on fertility treatment and things are really bad. And it's ovulation tests and it's really, really hard. And we're practicing so much. I'm like tired. But we just, and finally she falls pregnant. And I'm like, are you happy? It is the worst time in a man's life. It is so bad. She's got canker. She's complaining. She's worried about the stretch marks and she's eating for 15, although she's only carrying 1. And I'm hearing sentences like anchovies and peanut butter in the same sentence. And I'm like, what is this? If we can just get this thing out, we'll be happy. And then finally it comes out. Man, it's the worst time. I don't remember when last time I slept and everything smells of baby poo and baby pee and it's just so bad. And then finally it moves on and if we can just get this thing out of the house, we'll be happy. And then finally it's out of the house. I take one look. I look at her and I'm like, who are you? If only I'd be happy if we were divorced. I don't want to say, hopefully your story doesn't end that way. What I want to say to you is this: make a list of all the things that make you feel happy. Make a list of all the things you do in a day. Compare those lists and adjust accordingly. Happiness, in the times when I knew and felt that I was dying, waking up in the same house as my 2 little girls, loving them, waking them up in the morning with a kiss. That's happiness. Sending them off to school, making their lunches, writing a little love letter in their lunch boxes, which they get every day from me, and every single one is different. Having them come home and putting those letters in a box they keep. That is what happiness feels like. It doesn't matter. You are not a victim. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Happiness is a feeling. If you want your year to be different, it starts with change. Don't you dig that quote? Without change, you can have no future, only a recurring past. Want more of what you've got? Do what you did yesterday. How do you change it? Change starts with what you think. And it starts with booking me. You want your year to have a different outcome? Start by booking me. Thank you very much. Thank you.